Chapter 8. There is a market for loyalty. Kai had first met Dom at a political national convention dinner. She was an intern at a political campaign, youthful and energetic, beautiful, but not in the way that Mondai was. She was much more subtle, with a short, petite frame. She was well kept and groomed, but not high maintenance. She was able to blend in and become invisible if the need arose. In fact, Kai was the kind of a person who took things in her stride. She made things happen. She knew who to call and when to call them. She was an asset Dom thought would be advantageous to his company. He liked her and knew that she had a lot of potential. When they first met, Dom had been drinking. He seemed a bit out of place. He used the wrong utensils. Dom was not looking refined. It was clear to see he spent all the money he had getting to the governor's table and did not leave a dollar for a proper suit. He was dressed like a deacon rather than a businessman. The governor noticed him and decided Dom would be his amusement for the night, or so he thought. The governor turned to Dom and said, "A 20 grand steak buys a seat at the table, but you apparently couldn't buy a relevant suit." The people at the table chuckled at Dom's expense. The governor was having a good time. The conversations at the table were mostly internal politics and insider chatter. It was hard for him to follow. When Dom had a chance, he interjected on the governor. "Do all things of value have a marketplace?" Dom asked. "Well, yes, I would say that is generally true," said the governor. "Things of value are bought and sold either illegally or legally, bar nothing from the priceless artifacts to kidneys. If it's valuable, it is bought and sold. Where can votes be bought and sold?" "I don't think there's a market for that," Dom retorted. He didn't stop there and continued, "I guess if votes have no value to buy and sell, that means your campaign and your life's work has no value." The governor, recognizably agitated, said in response, "The value I have is the loyalty of my constituents. They trust me to look out for their best interests. Trust is my commodity, and it is more precious than gold," he mumbled as he chewed on his last bit of steak. Dom smiled, impressed, slightly sweating from the excess of wine and lights. He looked around the room, and his eyes stopped at Kai at that time. Noticing she was an intern, he turned his head towards her. "Ma'am, would you mind taking notes for the governor?" What notes?" Kai replied. Dom continued to push with the governor. "I came here tonight because I wanted to help this city and speak to you." "Go ahead," the governor replied. "Okay, so unhealthy food desert takeaways are everywhere in our city. How's about no tax for 10 years for fast food providers that offer healthy options and fresh produce? So most likely Mediterranean and possibly Latin franchises. Tax increases of 200% to owners of commercial buildings in the inner cities that have been vacant for 5 or more years. Not enough jobs these days, right? Invest in infrastructure. Build new and repair transportation systems. The rules of commerce have not changed. The biggest cities are usually near the water, or they have a major airport. Better infrastructure will speed commerce. More people spend more money faster in places that need it." Dom elaborated everything in a single breath. "Not some bad ideas," the governor mumbled again while chewing heartily. Dom stood up politely and said, "Good evening." Then he headed out. Kai was quiet, but impressed by him. After a while, she followed him out, and she spoke calmly. "Do you believe any of what you said back there?" Dom nonchalantly replied, "I just wanted to make everyone a little uncomfortable." Kai was confused with his response and asked, "Why?" Dom laughingly replied, "Comfort and growth don't coexist, so I pushed some buttons a little." Kai, noticing Dom is still slightly intoxicated, decided she would take him home. Kai, nearly a decade younger, was more intuitive and was already more cultured than Dom. She drove back, quoting famous philosophers and playwrights. She did not seem like the typical woman Dom was attracted to. Kai thought Dom might be an exciting plaything, and he would be easily discarded. She planned on focusing on her career as a strategist and didn't have time for meaningful relationships. When they reached Kai's apartment, Dom cooked for her, told her about his life and his grandfather and how he ended up working at the Powers Company. Dom shared his theory on formal education past high school, in which he referenced Einstein and Robert Fulghum. She was impressed as he expounded on the idea, stating, "The value of education and community, and the ability to speak with a common language about a particular and niche topic beyond that is a business." Kai's mobile phone rang and she snapped back to reality. After she was hired by Dom to be a strategist at twice the rate of the market, her job was to monitor him, to make sure he doesn't lose touch with himself or reality. She thought Dom was a genius or a madman. Either way, she enjoyed being in his inner circle. She knew everything, his coming and going, his interactions. She was his living diary, his continuity plan. Everything was by design. They were never together for long, and Kai set her own agenda. She often surveyed him because she noticed he had provoked unwanted attention from Mondai.